You know, and I think comedy is an exploration of the mind, not just in your own mind, but also in how do you relay those thoughts to other people in the most efficient way possible. And a lot of that has to do with how much have you managed your own mind and your own ability to communicate. And meditation can greatly assist you in that regard.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you do any meditation?
Yeah, I meditate. Yeah.
What's your practice like?
Well, I do a bunch of different things. Like, one, I do a lot of yoga breathing exercises, and I do them by myself, where essentially just completely concentrating on the breath, just breathing in and breathing out and forcing out all the thoughts and allowing them to come in and then allowing them to leave. And I like to do that also inside the tank. Like, one of the things that I really like to do is get myself into a position where I've settled in the tank and then just completely concentrate on my breath and just concentrate entirely on the breathing in and the breathing out and get it into this almost like hypnotic cycle of breathing in and breathing out. And it's the same thing. There's going to be all these different thoughts like, oh, you know, I'm itchy, I should scratch my nose, and maybe I should cut this down to an hour instead of 2 hours like I planned, or, you know, I really need to go running instead of going to yoga tomorrow. Maybe I should and you got to let those go. They come in, they come out, and just the breathing being this consistent thing that I can always go back to concentrating on.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You just described.
I do a practice almost exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The tank
actually
enhances it.
The tank, well, it's interesting. I was just going to say that I was trying to figure out when I was noticing my breath, like, what am I noticing here? Am I actually feeling the breath, or am I just hearing the breath come through the nose? And just identifying that was actually a little bit interesting. It actually boosted my level of attention to the breath when I decided to go in that direction.
Yeah, it's excuse me, it's both. I mean, you're hearing it, you're feeling it, but it's just the act of it, you know, the thing, the doing it, and like this sort of like hypnotic in and out thing that happens when you have no sensory input whatsoever. You're not feeling your feet on the ground, you feel weightless, you're not hearing anything, you're not seeing anything. It's just a particularly effective environment for exploring your thoughts.
Yes.
There's a expression sometimes, this feeling of, or an experience of being breathed. So it's like you're no longer doing the breathing. The breathing is just happening. It's like you're being breathed by a giant cosmic lung. And it's like that, you know, that feeling that you're that letting go.
Yeah.
Try to do that in the tank. And it's just like you just let go of any sense of that there's a doer, and it's just that you just start to taste yourself as this process, this thing that's just happening, you know, and a bird is passing outside. The clouds are passing and someone's walking across the street talking on their phone, and you're being breathed. And it's all just one system that's just happening.
It's also interesting, too, when I'm in the tank, I lose the sense of what is up and what's down. You lose, like, what, when you're lying there and you're floating, you kind of lose this, everything seems like all over the place, but in the thought of relaxing and letting go, it's always going down. It's always like a deeper thing. It's always like settling in more, settling in more. It always seems to go towards your back, like you're just sinking in deeper and deeper and deeper. It's one of the only times we have a sensation of a very particular direction that you're going in.
I found the directionlessness of it, that initially was quite scary for me. That I was, you know, where am I moving, or is this inner ear stuff? You know, like, it was just that.
You feel like you're flying, right?
Yeah, but I didn't experience that as a soaring. I experienced it as more terrifying.
Do we have footage of Dan clawing the inside of the isolation tank?
It's a practice, man. I see the value. I mean, another thing that actually it kind of reminds me of my last meditation retreat, where we were talking about physical discomfort, my teacher and I, and because I was experiencing a lot of physical pain from sitting for a long time, pain comes up. And I was asking, you know, is it okay for me to quit at some point just because this pain is too intense? And Joseph was arguing, you know, I think you want to test your limits on this. Obviously, at some point, you're going to get up. But you want to, we're gradually increasing the amount that we can stand. And that, to me, seems very similar to the value that I can perceive of getting back in the sensory deprivation tank, of being able to be with that fear a little bit more, test the limit a little bit more consistently, so that so that my world isn't getting smaller.
People echo that same sentiment when it comes to psychedelics.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking that's the next test for Dan.
I've long been very interested. There's a lot of, as you know, there's been a growing body of research into the salutary effects of psychedelics. A lot of it's being done at NYU on cancer patients who have anxiety, but there's also some specific work being done at Johns Hopkins on meditators and psilocybin. What kind of effect does psilocybin have on meditators, and can it in a way show them directionally where you want to be moving in your meditative practice? And I've had a long-standing desire to get into this study. My shrink and my wife strongly argue that I shouldn't. Somebody with my kind of brain chemistry who has to go on and perform under pressure when the red light's on TV, probably not a great idea to dose myself with psychedelics. But this is something I've been wrestling with a lot.
What are you worried about?
Psychedelics?
Yeah, like what do you think is going to happen?
It's right back to my worries in the tank. To me, I was thinking a lot about psychedelics, and I've had, when I was a kid and would smoke weed, I would have panic attacks. And I think it's about the desire for control, the ego, the thinking mind moves
Definitely
in,
is.
and it's like a vampire confronted with garlic. It's just my ego is recoiling and can't handle the lack of control.
And it's not just the energy of those experiences that's so intense, where you just have no control over it. But it's also, it just blows apart your worldview. Like you had this idea, you think you know what's really going on, and then you have one of those experiences, and it just shows you that you don't know anything.
Well, and you think you are there. You think you are you, that there's some solid you there, and that is called into question fundamentally.
Yeah, it is called into question.
But it's humbling to be shown that all your ideas about how you think things are just that, that it's just like that, you don't know fuck all. And that's my experience from doing that stuff. It's like, it just shows me that I'm just, just sit back, dude. Sit back and let nature do what nature's going to do.
But how can you say sit back, dude, when there's no dude there? When that's what you're starting to see. And
you get exploded. So basically it's a win-win situation. Either you win because you're able to stay super equanimous with the greater and greater intensity of what you're experiencing under a trip, or you win because you don't stay equanimous, you fight with it, and you get ripped to shreds. And in that humbling moment, that in itself is deeply consoling and healing. I think it's like both sides of that are positive. It's like a net positive gain on both sides of that. That's how I legitimate it, when I'm getting ripped apart. Yeah.
Getting ripped apart.
Yeah, it does. You see what I'm worried about?
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. I think if you just relax, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I know, but that's one of those things, like get out of when people say relax or get out of your own way, for somebody as tightly wound as me, it's a frustrating thing to hear because it's hard for me to operationalize.
You just got to resist that clench. Resist the clench. Just let it go.
But sometimes you do get ripped apart.
Yeah. Oh, most of the time if you do it right.
If you do that hero's dose, it's like
that's part of the thing about it, though. Is you're supposed to.
Is that a thing? Hero's dose.
Yeah.
Terrence McKenna.
Yeah. 5 dried grams.
Heroic
dose.
I thought it was 7.
Well, you can go to 7 if you're interested, but 5 dried grams is the recommended threshold.
Yeah, that's a different kind of mushroom experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where if you test yourself slowly but surely in those waters, you'll get more and more accustomed to the feeling of relaxation and letting go. And that treat it like it's a shamanic experience, like it's a very deep, intensive search to the very meaning of your existence. And don't think of it as like, oh my God, I'm about to do drugs.
Right, but they're not dissimilar in the way that when you don't know up from down,
right,
when you have no sensation of your body anymore, that is exposing the fundamental. Yeah. The fundamental fact that, as Jeff has used as this description over and over, I think quite beautifully throughout this discussion, which is that we aren't as solid as we think. We are, in fact, a process.
Right.
And the dude that you're trying to console, the dude, it's okay. That dude or dudette, there's no there.
Right.
And that, I could see myself going in that direction in the tank. That's inexorably where it takes you. And that is where psychedelics take you. And again, I'm in this weird position because I'm deeply interested in that experience, and I've tasted it in my own meditation for sure.
Yeah, it's where
but
meditation
I'm also
goes too.
scared. Yeah, I mean, this is where meditation goes. Of
But
course,
what's the fear?
Seeing that the you that you've been defending and protecting since sentience actually doesn't exist is, I think, ultimately very liberating. Really is the true liberation. But seeing it initially as a newbie it tears apart, as Jeff says, your worldview. Our worldview is based on us at the center.
It's a death experience.
Yes, exactly.
So it seems to me it's like you want to learn how to swim, but you're really only interested in calf-high water. Because if you really want to learn how to swim, what happens is they take you out in a jet ski out into the middle of the ocean, and they go, "Jump off, dude. You're now in the center of the ocean." And that's the psychedelic trip. The psychedelic trip is you are fucking swimming.
Back up. You're not in my thoughts at all.